Hi, and welcome back to the Typo3 YouTube channel. Oftentimes, you want to set up proper user groups in order to get your editors only access to the parts of the system that they should get access to. And this is what we're going to take a look now, so stay tuned. So, right here we have our demo site, and we did a couple small things to that. So for example, we've set up a couple of languages inside our page, which is Canadian English, Canadian French, and US English. And now we want to use this basis to set up proper user groups and users in our system. So let's go. What we do is we go to the list module at the left-hand part of the menu. Then we go to the root page, which is site demo in this case. And when we click the little plus icon on top, we will get a selection of records that we can create. In our case, we want to create a backend user, and we'll call her Editor Ellie. Editor Ellie is going to get a very, very weak password, which is password right now. And that's pretty much it. So now Ellie can log in. So if we save and close this, we can now go to the, no, we don't want to save the password. We can now go to the system backend users module and hit this little icon right here at the right hand side, which means we can switch to being Editor Ellie. So if we do this, we can now see that we are logged in as Editor Ellie. And obviously, since we didn't set any permissions so far, Editor Ellie can pretty much do nothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit this mode and set up a couple of permission for Ellie in this case. So we switch over to backend user groups within the backend users module, and we hit the little plus icon right here. And now we're going to define a role, which is Editor Canada. And we're going to the Access tab, and we're going to allow Editor Ellie or everybody in this group to see the web page module, the file list module, maybe the functions module, and to select her own user settings. So this is pretty much it. So we're going to save this. And now when we go back to the backend users tab, so what we need to do next is edit Editor Ellie and give her the selected role that we just created. So we will now save and close this record. And if we again switch over to Editor Ellie, which we'll do here, we can now see that Editor Ellie has access to the page module, to the functions module, and to the file list module, which is great. But Editor Ellie can't see any pages right here. So this is what we're going to fix next. So back to editing Editor Ellie in this case, and what we do is we switch to the Mounts and Workspaces tab. So what we can see is that Editor Ellie has no database mounts as of yet. So we click this little folder icon right here at the right hand side, and then on the next page we get a page tree that we have, and we can now select the starting point for Editor Ellie. In our case, we want her to have access to the home page and all pages beneath that. So we will simply save and close this, and again switch over to Editor Ellie, and now she should have pages, right? Well, no. So here's the little thing we need to adjust. We switch back to our editor user and then switch to the system access module. And if we click this, select the top page and show a couple more levels down here so that we have all pages, we can now see that all these pages basically belong to me, not to Editor Ellie, and there's no group being set whatsoever. And this is what we're going to fix here. So we're going to set up all these pages to belong to the group Editor Canada. We won't give them delete permissions for now. And in the depth select box, we can select that Typo3 should set this change to multiple levels of pages in one go. So we'll recursively set that, save and close. And now we can see that all these pages belong to the editor role Canada. And if we switch back to editor Allie now, she should see the home page, the About Us page with its subpages, and the products and contact page. So far, so good. Let's move on to files. So now we're going to set up files for editor Allie. And in order to do so, we'll simply go back to the user groups module and edit that one, and then move to the Mounts and Workspaces tab again. We will then scroll down to File Mounts, which decides where an editor can select files from. And in our case, you see at the right-hand side under Available Items, there's nothing in yet. So we'll hit the little plus icon and create a new file mount. And we'll call it Canadian Files. We need to select the storage for this. And in our case, we just have file admin, which is the local disk in here, and we'll just select that one. Upon reloading, what we get here is a selection of folders that are available in this specific file driver right now. So we're going to select the team folder for editor Allie, switch over to the Access tab. Everything's fine. We can add notes here. And we'll simply save and close this. And in the next step, we can now see that the Canadian Files folder has been selected for editor Allie. So if we save and close this record, switch back to backend users, and over there, magically morph into becoming editor Allie, we can now click onto the file list module, and we have all our files right here, which is just a subset. It's just that team folder subdirectory, which you know from your overall Typo 3 installation that you have. Next up is creating pages. And in order to do that, we switch back to editing our role Editor Canada group right here, scroll down a bit, and select the pages table to be listed. And a bit further down, there should be page content. We want editor Allie to see that one as well. Same goes for files and file metadata. And we'll get to that in a second. The next one is selecting which tables editor Allie is actually able to modify or allowed to modify in general. Normally, these are the same as in the table listing above, but you might use different permissions here in order to get things going. So next up, we can see the page types editor Allie is allowed to create. So we want standard pages, shortcuts, link to your external URLs, and folders, because the less an editor sees, the less confusing things get. And on the next tab, we have a couple of fields, because in Typo 3, we can define each field access for an editor. So we'll just leave it as it is. So the editor gets the most basic fields to work with. And if we save and close this, and then again, move over to becoming editor Allie, editor Allie is now able to create new pages right here. And we'll call this Edit by Allie. And we'll save and close this. And now the page is available right here. And if we edit this page, you can now see that it only has the title available to editor Allie, which means the page is hidden by default. She cannot unhide it. And this is where all the single field permissions come into play, and we'll step through these in a later video. Another thing I want to show is if we go back to the Access module, what you can see here is that the page that Allie has added obviously belongs to Allie, as well as to the group Editor Canada. This is because this is the first group Allie is actually in. And you can tweak this, because this might not always be the exact setting you want. And how you're going to do this is up to page TS config, and we're going to cover that in the next video. Stay tuned.